In English, to form certain tenses, instead of changing the ending of a verb, as in many other languages, we add a second verb known as an auxiliary verb. This is sometimes called a helping verb. The most common auxiliary verbs are do, be, and have. So, for example, I don't like swimming. The main verb is swim and the auxiliary verb is don't or do. I am going. The main verb is go and the auxiliary verb is am from the verb be. I have been to the supermarket. The main verb is been from the verb go and the auxiliary verb is have. Did you want any ice cream? The main verb want and the auxiliary verb did, the past tense of the auxiliary verb do. The first step in forming the present perfect tense is to use the auxiliary verb, in this case, have. I have, you have, he, she, it has, we have, they have. As you can see, only the he, she, it version changes and becomes has. The second step is to convert the main verb into something called a past participle. Most verbs are regular in that they follow a rule. The rule is to add the letters ed to the end of the basic verb. Some examples: walk, walked, jump, jumped, wash, washed, clean, cleaned. Take careful note of the pronunciation of this ed ending. A very common mistake is to pronounce it like ed. Some people therefore would say walk-ed, jump-ed, and so on. This is incorrect. The correct pronunciation is very different. Usually the ending is pronounced like a t sound. Listen again to the examples. Walked, jumped, washed, cleaned. Maybe you noticed that the last, cleaned, has a slightly different pronunciation, in this case like a d sound. This is because after saying the n sound, as in clean, it's difficult to move your tongue into position to say the t sound. So instead, we say d. There are other verbs like clean, which also use the d sound, but you can learn these as you go. Don't worry about which sound should be used, t or d. Most people will find that after a little practice, it becomes instinctive. Lastly, if a verb already ends in a t or a d sound, we still add the letters ed, but in this case we pronounce it like id. Decide, decided. Wait, waited. So, some examples of the present perfect tense showing the auxiliary verb have and the past participle. I have come. You have eaten. We have seen. He has taken. I have been. Mr. Smith has left. They have not visited. She has not read the book. In speech, we often abbreviate the auxiliary verb. Have becomes v, has becomes s. So, abbreviating our earlier examples, we would say, I've come, you've eaten, we've seen, he's taken, I've been, Mr. Smith's left. With the negative abbreviation, there are two possibilities, and both are okay. Have not becomes haven't or not. Has not becomes hasn't or not. They haven't visited or they've not visited. She hasn't read the book or she's not read the book. You'll probably recognize the past participle of regular verbs from another tense, the past simple. In the past simple tense, we also add ed to regular verbs, but in this case, we don't use an auxiliary verb. So for regular verbs, the past participle is the same as the past simple. Past simple, I waited. Present perfect, I have waited. The auxiliary verb tells you that it's the present perfect and not the past simple. We'll talk more about the differences between the past simple tense and the present perfect tense in some later lessons. Unfortunately, there are many irregular verbs which don't form a past participle by simply adding ed. Many of these verbs are used frequently and so simply have to be learned. In addition, unlike regular verbs, their forms are often irregular in both past simple and present perfect. Some typical examples: speak, spoke, spoken. Eat, ate, eaten. Drink, drank, drunk. See, saw, seen. Write, wrote, written. Come, came, come. There are some patterns and similarities which can sometimes help you to guess the correct form of an irregular verb, but most simply have to be learned. There is a list of some of the most common irregular verbs at the end of the course, which you can download for reference. As a final note, if you're not sure whether a verb is regular or irregular, simply assume it is regular and add ed. Everyone will understand you, and if you're lucky, they will correct you. And if someone corrects you when you make a mistake, simply say thank you, because they are doing you a favor by helping you with your English. Never feel that you have to apologize when you make a grammatical mistake in English. So, to summarize, to make the present perfect tense, we need the auxiliary verb have, and then the past participle of the main verb. Now that you know how to form it, in the next lessons, we're going to talk about the most important aspect, when to use the present perfect tense.